All right, I'm gonna start admitting people.
Thank you.
Daddy?
No, I need you to back away, please.
Iola! Iola! Give me the computer.
That was very parental, Evan. It was quick. It was,
Sorry,
that's
I should have
okay.
muted myself.
It
My
just took
bad.
me back to like, the 80s. I felt like, oh, okay. I'm sorry, mommy.
My wife is on a work trip tonight, so it's just me and 3 children during this meeting.
Good luck. My husband is not home at the moment, and I wasn't prepared to provide dinner before this meeting. And usually my husband would do it when I have a meeting, and he's not here. So I told my daughter she can have whatever's in the refrigerator. She's like, well, what about a pizza? Is that in the refrigerator? If it's in there, you can have it. If it's not in there, you cannot have it. So she was very unhappy to have leftovers tonight. So, okay, Evan, while you're still admitting people, are all of the commissioners able to turn their cameras on?
Just
Or do you need me
checked,
to do something?
Michael. The only ones, yes, the ones that I see that are here are. I'm gonna go ahead and send a message to the waiting room,
Mhm,
asking folks to identify themselves with first and
mhm,
last name because we have a lot of people with initials or no name or Zoom
mhm.
users or things like that, and so
They won't
uh,
be admitted.
yeah.
Good evening for those of you that have been admitted so far. We are going to get everyone into the meeting as quickly as possible, and then we'll get started. We have 2 commissioners tonight who will not be in attendance. Commissioner Smith is under the weather, and Commissioner Gilligan is unable to attend. He's out of town. So that means we're waiting for Commissioner Johnson. We need Commissioner Barry to turn on her camera. And then how many people would that be? 2, that would be 6. That would be everyone at that point.
Commissioners, it may be helpful for you just to keep things in order since we're administering things a little differently tonight, to use the option to hide non-video participants, so that then that way you only see the essentially the panelists.
That's fine. However you want to handle it's fine. Commissioner Barry said she can't turn on her camera, but I'm not sure that that's something that we've done. Is that
She is a co-host, so she should have all the powers to do whatever
right?
she
You should
wants
be
to
able
do.
to turn on your camera, Commissioner Barry. Okay. I'll call the meeting to order. I still don't see Commissioner Tiffany Johnson. Okay. Um, we will call the meeting to order, and I will ask um, Commissioner Palmer to take the roll call.
Yes, and in the interim, Commissioner Barry can participate by chat so that we know that Commissioner is present. 4B01,
Present.
4B02 is present, 4B03 is absent, 4B04,
Present.
4B05 is absent, 4B06.
It
Are we
is
expecting
absent.
Commissioner Johnson?
She's not here yet.
Okay, 4B07,
Present.
4B08,
Present,
4B09,
not here.
okay, 4B10. Commissioner Barry, we do see you present. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We do have a quorum.
Wonderful. We've been doing virtual meetings for a long time. I'll keep the instructions brief. We ask that people use the raise your hand function if you're able to. If you're on your phone, please start star 9 and we'll recognize you for questions. And with that, we'll move straight to the consideration of the agenda. There are a couple of changes to the agenda. There are 2 additions and 1 subtraction. Right, Commissioner Cohen, there's still 1 subtraction? Okay.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, just wanted to double check. So we would like to add State Education Representative Fraser O'Leary in our presentation, in our reports, excuse me. So he'll become presentation or report number C, letter C, in between Barbara Rogers and the Housing Justice Committee. And we also have a presentation from the U.S. representative for the District of Columbia. He will become item 6. And we also are eliminating item number 10. Okay, so with all of those changes, is there a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
I will move
I'll move.
to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll
Thank
second.
you. Is there a second? I heard the second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Johnson just arrived, Commissioner Palmer, for the record.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. So that is moved. We will move right into the approval of the
Are you
January.
Chair Brooks, are we holding a vote on that?
We are. Sorry. Is there, all in favor? I'm sorry, we already had the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Barry, if you could put your response in the chat, either in favor or opposed, I'd appreciate it. However, we have enough votes to move forward, but for the record, we would need your response. And then we'll move to the approval of the January 2024 regular public meeting minutes. I believe that everyone received them via email. And does anyone have any question or concern with regard to the minutes of the January meeting? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll accept the minutes by acclamation if there are no questions or changes. Okay, moving on. We'll accept them by acclamation. We'll move straight to the treasurer's report and quarterly financial report for the first quarter of FY 2024. As all of you know, Commissioner Yates was voted in the last meeting to represent us in the treasurer's seat. The floor is yours.
Yes, greetings. This is going to be a fairly abbreviated treasurer's report, given that the treasurer training was held Saturday and it is now Monday. So I don't have full access and capabilities under the system yet. But the first quarter of the ANC 4B financial report is completed by the Commissioner Brooks, could you give me just a moment, please, and come back to me?
Sure. Do you want me to step in and take over in your absence?
Yes, please. I'm very sorry.
Go ahead. So the past several quarterly reports have been completed by the Office of the ANC. This quarter is no different. They've provided us the quarterly report for the first quarter of FY 24. I'm not sure if it, because I wasn't supposed to know, Commissioner Yates would have known. I am assuming that it was on the website for everyone to see. And I can just run through it really quickly. We started the quarter with $56,298.01, and we had no transactions. And so we ended the quarter with, we had a $2 bank charge. So we ended the quarter with $59,084.96. No. I told a story. I was looking at the fourth quarter of 23. So for the first quarter of 24, we started with the 58,086. We did have checks that cleared the banks because we had grants. And so we had $191.77 in communication costs and printing costs, and we had $10,090 in grants for a grand total of $10,281.77 expended, with a ending balance of $49,506.30. So that is the treasurer's report that we need to vote on. That is I'm going to repeat everything just because I was confused myself. That is the report for FY24 Q1, which is October 1, 2023 through December 31, 2023. And as I said, we started with 58,084 and we ended with 49,506.30. And the lion's share of those costs were the grants, $10,090. Is there a motion to accept the report as submitted? I'm sorry, we're getting off to the wrong start today. Are there any questions before I do that? Anything that anyone needs to ask or understand? No. All right. Is there a motion to accept the report as submitted? Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That's everyone. All right, y'all. I promise I'm gonna get better before we go any further. Okay. One quick note. The reason I had the fourth quarter of 23 up is because the report was created by OANC. We voted on it, but there were checks left off of page 2 of the report. And so while the numbers don't change, the dollars don't change, we have to make note that we revised the report. It doesn't require a vote, but I am, for the record, indicating that we changed page 2 of the report. And we will add that to the minutes so that we have that on record. Okay. All right. So that completes the treasurer's report. I'll go back to the agenda. Next on the agenda are commissioner updates. We can start with 4B010. Let's work backwards this time. Let's give somebody else a chance, Commissioner Colson. Commissioner Berry, let's switch it up a little bit. Let me get my thoughts together.
Okay. Update. I guess not much. I attended the vacant housing caucus today. So I wanted to maybe talk about that in the next meeting. But besides that, no other updates.
All right, thank you. Commissioner, I would be next, but I'm gonna go work around everyone else first. So Commissioner Cohen.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, a few updates. We had a meeting in late February for an item, the 245 Peabody Street, which was pretty widely attended. We had about 35 folks there regarding the BZA application for relief at the street. There's going to be some more information about that relatively soon. I had to cancel our regular in-person single-member district meeting for February because of DPR permitting issues, but I expect to make that up both in March with a virtual meeting early in the month, and then probably also our in-person meeting the fourth Saturday in March, and that's at 10 a.m. at Lamond Recreation Center. Expect my newsletter to come out in the second week of March, and that's all I got.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Evening, everyone. two quick items. The first is that my next single member district meeting will be held next Monday, March 4th at 7 p.m. I will put the link for the agenda in the chat box. Also, if you can keep the family of the, if you are aware, so let me start with that. There was a fire in the 100 block of Madison Street Northwest last week. Thank you, Allison, for checking in as well. Barbara Rogers had emailed us both about that. I have followed up with both Barbara Rogers as well as Sophia from our Moker's office. The family is being helped by the Red Cross. They do have my contact information, but if we could keep them in our prayers as they go through this difficult time, that would be appreciated. And those are the only updates I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Yates?
Yes. In addition to completing treasurer training last week, I testified at the zoning commission twice in the past 2 weeks as authorized by resolution on behalf of two projects ANC 4B has supported, bringing both our 100% affordable housing in our community. I'm excited to continue to support those on behalf of the commission.
Thank you. Commissioner Palmer?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair Brooks. I will be holding my regular monthly cleanup on the first Saturday of the month, so that will be March 2nd at 10 a.m. We meet at Van Buren and Piney Branch to clean up around the Safeway. That's always the first Saturday of the month. And my monthly office hours will be on Thursday, March 21st, starting at 5 p.m. from Tacoma Station Tavern. Focus will be on local small businesses. And I wanted to update that TDOT has been in touch about installation of a raised crosswalk at 6th and Butternut. This was part of a notice of intent. They're installing an east-west flex post median, and thanks to a lot of advocacy from neighbors, there will also be a raised crosswalk at 6th and Butternut. So I wanted to provide an update on that. Thank you.
Commissioner Colson?
Good evening, everyone. So as Commissioner Yates just talked about, there was a zoning hearing on last Thursday for the project at 7709. There was not a ruling. It has been tabled for additional information. So if you want to get up to speed on it, I encourage you to go back and watch the videos from January's community meeting. And then we will keep you posted on the next meeting, which will be sometime in March. I'll drop it in the listserv when we have dates and information. I'm not sure if they will be open for additional testimonies in support or opposed, but I definitely want to re-emphasize that so that everyone is aware. And that is all of my, that one is all of my updates.
All right, thank you. My update is that we are having another community safety walk with MPD. This one will be on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday at 12:30, and it will be in the 5600 block of First Street Northeast. That's where we'll meet. And we'll walk through the community and identify areas of concern for MPD. Everyone is welcome to join. And we usually walk for about an hour when we're out. Okay, so if you're aware of anything that's going on in that particular area that you want me to have addressed, please let me know. All right, with that, we'll move to community concerns. Please use the raise your hand function or dial *9 in order to be able to speak for 1 minute. Commissioner, I'm sorry, Jocelyn Johnson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I usually have computer problems. Now, should I take the video off as well, or it's okay like
It's up
this?
to you.
Oh, okay. I'll leave it alone. I just wanted to invite everyone. I'm the chairperson for the Ward 4 Mini Commission on Aging, and I would like to invite everyone to come to the meeting. It's going to be particularly exciting, I think, on March the 14th at 10 a.m. to 12-ish at the fourth District Police Precinct. We're supposed to have Council Member George for Ward 4. She's supposed to be a speaker. She told us at the Lamont Library, Huff Library during her listening meetings, we had brought to her an issue dealing with group homes that has been going on forever and ever. And she said she was going to discuss and bring us some updates on that at this March 14th meeting. So I'm encouraged, got my fingers crossed, believing that she's going to be there, and which is really good because she hasn't really spoken to our group, met with our group, to meet and be a speaker since I think it's April 2023. So we need to see her,
Ms.
and I would like you
Johnson,
all to come.
your minute's
So
up.
come on down.
All right.
Come on in. Okay, that's all. Thank
All
you.
right. When you say everyone, do you actually mean everyone, or do you mean seniors?
No. Come, please come. Anybody can come.
Okay.
We're not gonna take it. We're not gonna check your ID. We should, but we won't.
All right.
You all know somebody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But seniors especially.
Okay. I don't see any other hands raised. Going once, going twice. All right, we'll move on. We'll start with our U.S. representative for DC. Let's see if he's here. I actually told him 7:30, so we're a little bit early. And so therefore we'll move to Sophia Tacola from the mayor's office. And we'll double back to him when he gets on the call. Commissioner Yates, did you?
Just did. Just
Okay,
took me a
thank
second
you.
to find her down at the bottom of the list.
All right.
Hi, thank you guys all for having me. So a few things to share, so I'll try to make it quick. Starting with, we have quite a lot of grant opportunities coming up. We have the Walter Reed Grant, which will look at applications for it's going to end on March 8th, and this is going to be specifically for businesses, whether they currently have a lease, they have an intent to have a lease on Walter Reed, or they are wanting to know more information about it. And so I'll put all of that information in, but we really want people to sign up on the DEMPED website. As of right now, the application will be closing Friday, March 8th. That may possibly subject to change, so wanted to let you guys know in case it doesn't get changed. We also have additional grants from obviously dc.com. We'll have business funding grant opportunities. There's a lot of money for grants right now, as well as downtown grants. So if we have anybody in Ward 4 that is wanting to have a business downtown, the mayor is definitely pushing resources there to get more people there. And then we also have our grants for building blocks, which is about a grant of $5,000 to $15,000, and it will be awarded to people in the community, whether it's singular people or organizations, to provide innovative programming, activities, resources, and services to reduce gun violence and danger violence in DC neighborhoods. And then we also have this book. I know I've briefly talked about it before, but it's called the Green Book. I'll make sure everyone see, but it is a little blurry. But this is the Green Book. And through this book, if you want one, please let me know. It has all the different resources, grant opportunities, and different things like that. Spending goals, who you should talk to for this concern, all about where the money's at, and different things like that. So definitely take a read if you want one. I know just got a message from Chair Brooks that she wants one. So please let me know. I'll put all my information in if you want one. I'll be handing some out tomorrow as well. And then for all of these grants, you can go to www.obviously.dc.com, and I'll put all the links in the chat as well. And then we also, so Commissioner Johnson mentioned, but we had a fire located on Madison Street Northwest, right off of First Street on that 100 block. And there was a total of 4 individuals that were impacted. 3 were present, 1 was not in the country. And so we're working on getting all different resources. Commissioner Johnson has been absolutely amazing in checking in on that. So thank you for that, Commissioner. I was there from about, I believe, 7 or 8 a.m. till the Red Cross got there a little bit before noon, working with individuals and checking in on them and making sure that everything was able to be warm as possible during that time. Before I say this next thing, I want to make it very clear that this was not the cause of the fire. I don't know that yet. There's an investigation, but we've had a lot of fire officials warning people to take precautions due to lithium ion batteries. They're starting to see a rise, whether it's because of hoverboards or electric scooters and different things like that that are causing a lot of fires. There was a fire Thursday night in DC, not on Ward 4, that this was yet another reason for that fire. So just taking extra precautions for that. And as a reminder, checking your smoke alarms. It was on the news that the fire chief said that the reason that this fire, everyone made it out safely and unharmed to the best of their abilities was because their smoke alarms were working and loud. And so we have a lot of resources. If you know of people who might not necessarily be able-bodied to change them, our wonderful fire staff can change them for them. And we have a lot of resources for that if you are interested. Next up, summer programs for families. And so this is coming up in April, but want to make sure that everyone's aware of it. Saturday, April 6th from 11 to 2 p.m. at Raymond Elementary School in Ward 4. There will be an event for families to connect with government agencies, nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations, specifically looking at a school grants for the summer and different resources like that. So if you're interested, definitely check the chat for more information about summer programs for families and grants for families. And then last, we're wanting to see how many people we can get to come down to the council chambers Tuesday, March 5th at 10:30 a.m. to listen to the vote about Secure DC. And so I'll put more information about Secure DC and Act Now legislation. I know we've talked about it before, but wanting everyone to know the specifics of it because there has been a lot of mixed messaging from people thinking it's one thing and not another thing. So want to make sure everybody's aware of what is actually the request of the mayor to move forward. For example, I saw someone saying that it doesn't allow people to wear masks. No, it doesn't allow people to wear ski masks to commit a crime. And so if you're sick, I know I had COVID last month, I was definitely wearing a mask if I was walking my dog. And so you're absolutely able to do that as well. It doesn't just make people do all sorts of stuff. So I'll put everything in the chat because I'm running out of time, but thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Okay, I added it.
Commissioner Yates.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up about the secure DC thing that you brought up. One of the things that I saw that is part of it is an effort to reduce essentially initially the mayor's initial bill was to reduce the standards for performance and punishment for MPD officers, but then I noticed in the MPD oversight responses that there were officers suspended this year for participating in the riots on January 6th. There was an officer suspended for participating in the January 6th riot and another officer suspended for sexual assault. Like that seems too easy to me already. Like, is the mayor okay with officers committing sexual assault or participating in the January 6th riots and keeping their jobs?
I have not seen exactly what you're talking about, but I know that the mayor is not okay with people committing any type of sexual assault or sexual crimes or violent hate crimes against marginalized people groups or any people groups for that matter.
I'd just like to state for the record that I think those officers should be fired for that actions, and any efforts to loosen the standards is not what my constituents want out of the police department in our community.
Yeah. And so that is another thing to want to make sure that people know what secure DC is and what is not. It's not in secure DC to loosen or lighten anything. When someone's committing a crime, they will be punished for the full intent of the law. And nowhere in secure DC does it say to make it easier for somebody in office or an officer to commit a crime.
Commissioner Palmer?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to flag a couple of things that have been raised to me by email by residents. One of which is related to overflowing trash cans, including some of the new trash cans that we were successful in getting installed. And this is in Commissioner Yates' SMD, but we've talked about this, that the trash can in front of the Starbucks, which is new, just doesn't seem to have regular collection, and we're not sure what the issue is there. Maybe it's being skipped over or not serviced as regularly because it's a newer can. And then I want to again note something that I've raised the last few meetings, which is residents having some trouble in terms of street closures and no parking signs related to utility work, and just looking for some greater transparency and coordination around that. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll work on reaching out to DPW. I have a meeting with them tomorrow to see what is that schedule for the new trash cans. And then I have flagged it to our DDOT. And so I'll give that reminder as well on our meeting tomorrow for parking enforcement.
Well, since you have a meeting tomorrow with DPW.
Yes.
I have a grassy area at the intersection of New Hampshire Avenue and North Capitol and Kennedy Street, and it is never mowed or cleaned by DPW. It is public property. Dumping is now occurring there. They couldn't cut the grass if we wanted them to, because someone has to come move everything out of the way. And so for whatever reason, DPW is very consistent about cutting the grass at North Capitol and Longfellow. They are not consistent. In fact, they just don't cut the grass at North Capitol and Kennedy unless someone complains. And you've been helpful in getting them to do it when I complain, but we need them to do it and clean it on a regular basis. And so is it possible to have Clean Sweep or Clean City or someone come and clean that area? Also, I don't know if this is really DPW. I think it's probably more DOB, but there's a vacant property at 5412 First Street Northwest, and now people are throwing, completely throwing garbage bags of trash on the property because it's not maintained. It's a blighted and abandoned building, in my opinion. It's definitely blighted, but it's vacant. It's not abandoned.
Thank you.
And so that needs to be addressed as well.
Absolutely. And I know that grassy area, I think we've been working for like a year to try to get that resolved. So we are on the same page for that. And you'll be happy to know, also have a meeting with DOB tomorrow, so I can bring that up as well in person.
All right. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a comment or question? All right.
Last thing I wanted everybody to know, because I think the last time I was on here, we talked about having a meeting with Whittier, with DCPS and everyone, and that meeting did happen.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. Bye-bye. All right. The U.S. representative for DC is now on the call, so we're going to elevate him. Representative Oye, and I'm sorry. I'm going to say I'm sorry in advance, but I asked him in advance how to pronounce his name just to make sure I could get it right. So Oye Owoluwe. I want to make sure that I'm saying that properly. I hope
you are good. You are good.
All right. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, ANC, for being. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Brooks, for allowing me to be here. My name is Dr. Oye Wolewa. I'm the U.S. Representative of Washington, D.C., and I'm glad to be here. A little bit about my role. We fight for DC statehood, and on that front, I've been able to introduce DC statehood resolutions in conservative states to kind of elevate the things that's going on in DC. When it comes to DC statehood, I can go all day about why it's important for us to have it, and starting with our voting rights, but not just that. It really affects all of our lives or aspects of our lives here in DC, including DC's #1 issue, public safety. As a former ANC commissioner, as a healthcare worker, I think a different way, as well as I serve in a different way, evidence-based grassroots action. And what I've seen is improving public safety requires us to put our time and energy into things. We volunteer in elementary schools for the past 10 years, getting kids interested in science careers and also professional careers that can get them into the right track. And for folks who have gone the other set of ways, whether they've gotten in trouble, have a criminal history, who have had a record that now creates barriers for them to get the jobs they want to get, to live where they want to live, basically allow them to live more safe lives in DC, we have launched something called the Expunge Clinic. What that is that we help returning citizens learn about the record sealing process, get on board with pro bono lawyers, as well as get job opportunities that can help them live on the straight and narrow. Our very next Expunge Clinic is on March 23rd, which is a Saturday at 10 a.m., and that's going to be at 633 Indiana Avenue Northwest. We're looking for folks who may be justice impacted. We're also looking for second chance employers, because these are the folks that can really reach people that we can't reach and provide opportunities. Again, I didn't want to take up all your time. I just wanted to plug in my next event in March 23rd, which is a Saturday where we're doing our next budget clinic. And I'll leave more information. I guess I'll email it to Chairwoman Brooks, because I think that the contacts or the chat is disabled. One last thing, I'm going to leave my information. Folks around me don't like when I do the office, but I definitely want to make sure that I'm readily available to reach. My phone number is 202-390-9480, and my email address is adeoye.owlewa@dc.gov. This is an unpaid job, but we are really the feedback that I've gotten from ANCs and people in the community has allowed us to do the work that we do. So again, thank you so much for allowing me to grab a couple minutes to talk about my upcoming event, because it really allows us to have a meaningful impact beyond what the role mandates. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming. And does anyone have any questions, comments? All right, you're free to go.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is Barbara Rogers from the Office of the Ward 4 City Council Member Janice Lewis George.
Okay, there we go. I couldn't unmute at first. Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners, and all under the sound of my voice. I do have just a few quick updates. The Tacoma Fitness Center reopened this week. The gym is located at its original location within the Tacoma Aquatic Center, which is 300 Van Buren Street Northwest. On the right side, as you walk into the building, DPR said that it is migrating previous issues with the space by installing dehumidifiers, making the HVAC repairs, and also hiring a contractor to treat the equipment so it stays in good condition. The operating hours will be 6:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. on weekdays, 10:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, and the fitness center is closed on Sunday. I mention this every month, but just a brief on SNAP expansion. Over the weekend, DC residents on SNAP did receive the extra payments from January and February. Starting this coming Friday, March 1st, every DC resident on SNAP will have their expanded SNAP as part of their regular monthly benefits. This will help the thousands of family, children, and our seniors in our community who had their SNAP benefits reduced by Congress earlier this year. So now they will be receiving extra money each month. This is tax season. Most of you all know I worked at a CPA firm for 20 years before I decided to do what I do now. So it is tax season, and we do have some free tax prep at our libraries. We have AARP that is putting on, and I'm going to put this in the chat with the links of where you can get the free income tax preparation, but there we also want to ensure residents take advantage of some of the tax deductions. We have the federal earned income tax credit, the district earned tax credit. We have the Schedule H tax credit, which are for DC renters. So I will put all that information in the chat. As Sophia mentioned, that there will be a second vote on Tuesday, March 5th for the Secure DC legislation. And I just have a couple more things. Performance oversight hearing. The DC Council is in the midst of performance oversight hearings. This is when DC residents can testify in front of DC agencies and the council on how they want to see DC government to improve. So the council member encourages ANC commissioners and neighbors to review the full schedule and testify about issues that matter more to you. I will put that link in the chat as well. And finally, if you do not get our Ward 4 newsletter, you can sign up at www.ward4news.com. We can also text you the newsletter now. We've heard from some seniors that said they want to get it to their phone. So if you send a text to 202-286-5268, you will get the newsletter that comes out every Friday afternoon directly to your phone. And that's what I have.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Yates.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the council members, if the council member shares a concern that I have around the mayor's proposed budget cut for LaSalle Backus Elementary. As you know, LaSalle Backus is projected to have an enrollment increase, but is proposed for a budget cut. I don't know if you can propose serving more kids with less money, but I wanted to see what the plan is for the council. It also seems to not be in keeping with the law that the council passed last year about stabilization for schools. So I just wanted to see what the council member was thinking on that.
Yeah, she is very, very concerned. I think it's 2 schools. Same thing happened. Enrollment is up, but the budget doesn't reflect that. So yes, she is very concerned, and she's working with our ledge team to see how we can definitely reverse that.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
All right. 1 second. There's one more question. Jocelyn Johnson.
Thank you. Ms. Barbara, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I just have 2 things. Would you be so kind as to bring your information about the SNAP to the mini commission meeting next week on the 14th? because I'm sure seniors probably would be really interested in knowing about it, any application or whatever. That would be great. And the other thing is, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And the second thing I wanted to do, I sent you all a couple of emails about the trash, and Miss Councilmember George has sort of praised the DPW sanitation director or whoever. She said he used to be frontline and all of that, but they have never really improved through the years, and the trash just continues. It's like they don't even care about the rats and all of that. So I really want to put that on somebody's agenda. I was going to say something to Miss Sophia, but since I've been bringing it to you guys in the last couple of weeks, please tell somebody. Maybe this new guy needs to do some visitations, some inspections, and see with his own eyes what his people are doing. Because it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, I did get your email and have prepared a draft response. And what I will say, we did forward that to DPW for them to be aware of that. But I will offer and you'll see in my response that I am happy to do like an alley cleanup there. And also to bring out, because it looks like individual trash. And so we want to make sure residents know too that you should put your trash in the bag and tie it up. But we did send that information to DPW for them to come out and inspect that alley. So thank you so much for your email on that.
I just want to make sure that he understands this isn't just about cleaning up the alley. This is about the litter that they leave when they're collecting the trash. We're watching it out the window. So I want to make sure they get it.
Have you reached out to DPW directly? So that you can express it?
I have. Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, through the years I have. I mean, this is
no, but I mean, now that there's a new director, have you reached out?
Because
I would suggest that you reach out and share your concern.
But but I also want my council member to reach out as well. She's the council member, and I want her thumbprint on this, so we can hopefully, maybe there's some action that can be done by her as a council member to make a difference, because this is an ongoing. This didn't just start with the new director. It's the same. You really don't know.
But I think what we want,
I'll do it. I don't mind. I can do that. And
I think what everybody needs to understand is that if they have a question or a concern as a resident, they have to be proactive and they have to reach out to the appropriate agencies and entities. And as I've said many times before, the district government executes and the councilwoman legislates. So if your concern is execution, I would suggest that you reach out directly to DPW and express your concern. And I would suggest that you reach out directly to Sophia and express your concern. And if you don't get resolution or don't feel that you've been heard and you want the councilwoman's office to legislate it, then I would suggest that you reach out and ask the councilwoman's office to legislate. I don't want to leave 40 people on this call with the impression that anytime something's not working in a particular agency, that the answer is to then go to the councilwoman's office, because that's not the actual approach that we recommend. You obviously, want your councilwoman to have their thumbprint on it, so you can do that. But if you actually want resolution to the issue and you want someone that will execute to accomplish that, then I would suggest contacting DPW, contacting the representative for Ward 4, and contacting the Mopers.
I agree, and I appreciate that, Ms. Brooks, but I do want to make sure that you understand that we voted for Ms. George to be a representative as well as a legislator.
We voted for her to be a legislator. That's not the job.
I got you.
Not the job, Ms. Johnson.
Well, and a lot of people are getting that. This is the season to talk about it. So I want to make sure she doesn't lose it. Your point is well made. Okay. This is a long time issue. If Barbara or somebody can put the DPW director's phone number in the chat, I'll do that, so I can call him tomorrow or email him or whatever. But it has to be addressed.
The chat is disabled, so Commissioner Rogers, Ms. Rogers, if you want to email her the contact information on the website, have at it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome,
and thank you, Ms. Brooks. Thank you both.
Sure. Ms. Cola has her hand raised, probably because I referenced contacting her MOCR, but if you could unmute her, please.
Hi, not quite for that. I was gonna put some stuff in the chat and I'm not able to. Actually, you know what? Something just changed. Now I am. Never mind. Thank you.
As long as you're on the panel, you can submit, you can add stuff to the chat. So if they leave you on for a second, you should be able to add whatever you need to add.
Okay, perfect. That's why I
Are
was
there,
like, thank you.
no worries. Are there any other questions for Ms. Rogers or comments? Okie dokie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so next, I believe, is our committee reports. I'm going back to my agenda 1 second. Yes, so Commissioner Palmer, would you like to give an update on the Housing Justice Committee?
Yes, I would be happy to. Thank you, Chair Brooks. We held our last Housing Justice Committee meeting on in February, the beginning of February, February 7th. And we had a discussion about budget advocacy as related to the fiscal year 2025 district budget as related to housing issues. And we heard from and had a discussion with the DC Fiscal Policy Institute and the Washington Legal Clinic for the Homeless. We also had an interesting discussion with representatives from the Department of Housing and Community Development about the District Opportunity to Purchase Act, which is another affordable housing tool that is rarely used, and we dove into some of the reasons for why that is. The Housing Justice Committee next meets on March 6th. We meet on the first Wednesday of the month at 7:30. We will be hearing a presentation about a zoning matter, as well as discussing with Advisory Neighborhood Commission 1A's Housing Justice and Zoning Committee some preliminary plans for this year's Tenant Resource Fair, which is an event we did last year that was very good. So please join us. All that information is on the commission's website. We will be meeting March 6th at 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I jumped into the committee reports, I was supposed to have State Board Representative Fraser O'Leary speak. So let's have him speak next, Commissioner Yates, before we do Vision Zero.
You should be able to now. It just gave me a little glitch for a second.
Okay. Mr. O'Leary? There you go.
Hi.
Hi.
How's everybody? I'll be quick. I have a lot. We've been talking with the school board this for the last 6 months about the report card. On last Wednesday, we had a 5.5 hour meeting about other things too, but also about the report card. We didn't vote. We're going to vote on the 4th of March. Before our business meeting in March on the report card. The boundary study is supposed to have been published this week. I haven't seen it yet. It affects a lot of people in Ward 4. I testified this morning at Councilmember Louis George's hearing on DGS about Whittier, about how Whittier is a 98-year-old school and is not treated right. I mentioned that we hope that the last year at Whittier, which will be 2024-25 school year, that when they come to the school in August, that everything will be fixed for their last year in the building. And I also mentioned about how the need for mountables close to Whittier is very, very important for everyone in the Whittier community. And I know there were a lot of people testifying from Whittier today. The assistant principal testified on Wednesday at our our public meeting. If you don't know, the teachers have been working without a contract since October 1st. There has been hardly any negotiation with the chancellor. And last week, and if you believe this, it's true. Last week, DCPS said that they would have a meeting to negotiate at 5 o'clock on last Thursday morning. 5 o'clock a.m. in the morning was when they decided they could meet with the negotiating, and they met. I haven't heard what happened. I can imagine. Mr. Yates mentioned about the budget and the enrollment at LaSalle Backus. We have LaSalle Backus, Coolidge, Ida B. Wells, Roosevelt, and McFarland are all going to be over enrolled next year. They're all bursting at the seams. And if the budget doesn't satisfy that, then we as a community need to go up in arms about it. I think that's basically what I have. Two things. This Thursday at 6 o'clock at the Petworth Library, I'll be facilitating the Toni Morrison Book Club. We're going to be talking about Beloved. If that's a book that you are beloved about, then please show up at 6 o'clock and join our conversation. And last but far from least, we still need books. Please get in touch with me. I try to get in the chat to put my stuff in, and maybe I can get in there now. Yes, I can get in there now. I'll put my address, my phone number, and my email in the chat. And you can drop them off at 1318 Farragut, or I'll come pick them up. We want to keep getting books to the students. We're over 40,000 now since we started in 2020. So keep getting your books together and get them to me. And I'd love to answer any questions. I'll try to put my stuff in while you're thinking about your questions.
I have a question actually, and then
Sure.
I let everyone else go. I have a concern with regard to Riggs LaSalle. I know that the Whittier parents are looking for a swing space that is near the school. It's been mentioned that there's going to be a two-school solution that would include Riggs LaSalle. Riggs LaSalle does not have a PTO, and I'm worried that they're just going to be a tack on as opposed to equally considered in where this swing space will be and how it will impact those residents. And so I'm wanting to know if you're involved in those conversations.
I am. And the last information I got from Principal Gray at Riggs LaSalle is that they want, just as Whittier does, they want to have be able to be on site while their building is being renovated.
Mm-hmm.
And so the rumor about having Riggs LaSalle and Whittier having to work together in order for DCPS to go along with it to me, makes absolutely no sense at all. If they had mountables at Coolidge, which had a much lower enrollment, believe it or not, than Whittier does right now, and they were able to get those trailers out there, then there's no reason why they can't do that. The big problem with Whittier and having mountables is having the mayor make a decision. The DPR can give up some room on that field down on at the bottom of Fifth Street, and so that they can put maybe 6 or 7 trailers. It's a couple of $1 million, but the trailers, because we were in trailers when I was at Cardozo for a year and a half. The trailers were much more comfortable as far as air conditioning and heat than the building was, because Cardozo is an even older building than Whittier is. And I know that y'all have been in Whittier. You know that if you've been in Whittier, that Whittier has some problems that DCPS and the mayor have not taken care of. DGS. They're trying. It's better now than it was 6 months ago. but I want the building to be spick and span as far as it can be when they come to school in August.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Does anyone else have a question or a comment? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Sure. I put my stuff in the chat.
All right. Thank you. All right, Commissioner Yates, just jump back to the Vision Zero update.
Yes, the Vision Zero committee met the 21st at 7 o'clock. We now meet the third Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. We had a discussion last time about upcoming Vision Zero and traffic safety measures in the DC budget. We meet again on March 20th at 7 p.m.
All right, thank you very much. Youth Advisory Committee, Commissioner Palmer and I have identified 3 students. We're getting started. We received actually a 4th from Commissioner Colson, so thank you very much for the recommendation. And we will be having our first meeting in the coming weeks. Commissioner Palmer, is there anything you want to add?
Just want to say that I'm excited to work with our young people in the neighborhood to talk about what they're interested in and what they care about and how we can help them as commissioners.
Absolutely. All right, thank you for that. Our first presentation will be from Travis Culpepper, Manager of Strategic Infrastructure and Operations Initiative with PEPCO. We elevate him.
One moment, I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Culpepper, are you there? Are you off camera?
Okay, yes. Can you?
There you go.
Okay. Okay, there I am. Hello, how are you guys doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Let me share my screen.
Mm-hmm.
And please let me know if you guys can Lord have mercy. Can see this.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay. I want to thank you all so very much for giving me the opportunity to come before you to talk about PEPCO's Climate Ready Pathway DC multi-year plan, which is essentially a rate increase that is focused on PEPCO making investments into the system to make the electrical grid climate ready for customers' future needs. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that, and hopefully have your support as well. So before I get into the focus of today's discussion, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about some key pillars and focal points that are really important to PEPCO, and one of them being affordability and equity. As many of you all may know, there are several different energy assistance programs that are provided in a number of ways by the district administered by the district government. Some of the funds have been provided by the federal government. There are programs like LIHEAP, which is a federally funded program which gives funding to customers throughout the country to help with your heating and cooling bills. This is federally funded money, and it is something that is available to customers based on your income, as well as the residential aid discount program and the arrears management program as well. So these are programs that are currently in existence that can be utilized by district residents. We gave last year $21 million in energy assistance was awarded. Another focus point of PEPCO's is, of course, with our diversity and inclusion and particularly in supporting minority-owned businesses as well as hiring locally. So 71% of the my workforce in the District of Columbia is diverse. We have also donated more than $2 million to district organizations. And of course, one of the programs that we really highlight is the DC Infrastructure Academy, which was created in 2018. PEPCO has a training program which has graduated over 200 graduates to date, and all of those graduates have received a job offer with PEPCO, one of our contractors. So these are things that are very important to us. I just wanted to make sure to remind people and let people know that this is something that these are things that we're actively doing every day because this is who we are as an organization. And then also there is a community impact capital fund, which is a um, funding source specifically for minority-owned businesses. And it's really meant to help scale up minority-owned businesses within the PEPCO region. It's something that Exelon, our parent company, started a few years ago, where this program helps to give low interest loans in the amount of $100,000 as high as $300,000, which is equity investment for minority-owned businesses. Just last year, we gave away $2.7 million in funding to four, Washington, D.C. area-owned minority businesses in the area of energy, IT, workforce development, and real estate. And you can apply if you know of any minority-owned business that could use this program. Is really helpful. And we believe that, this is really impactful because we want to be a part of the communities that we serve. And this is one way that we demonstrate that by supporting our minority-owned businesses within our footprint. And we have had a record level service in the district. We've made significant investments to the grid over the years, which has, really helped to have the best service that we've had in a number of years. We've experienced a 25% decrease in outages since 2020. We've also seen a reduction in a 57% decrease in the frequency of electric outages that customers have experienced. And this is a direct result of some of the investments that we've made into the system. And we're committed to making more investments to enhance the electrical grid, to make it more resilient, and meet the future needs of customers, which is why I'm here talking to you about the climate ready multi-year plan. And this plan, really just to ground the conversation, is a plan that was sort of born out of a 5-year action plan that PEPCO put together. And we looked at really what customers wanted, where things are headed in the future. And we know that throughout the country and really throughout the world, people are looking to lower, every municipality is looking to lower the carbon footprint. And we know that there's several different industries, including our industry, will have a important role to play. And so we took a step back and came up with a 5-year action plan on some of the things that we can do as a local utility to help the district meet its clean energy goals. And so number one, we know that the district wants to electrify transportation. So that is, looking at EV charging stations, electrifying fleet for ride share taxis, that sort of thing. So we know that, that's something that customers want. We know that decarbonizing the buildings, looking for energy efficiency programs is something that the district is actively looking at. So all electric buildings is something that we know we're going to see more of in the future. And so this is really helping to lower their carbon footprint. Of course, activating local energy ecosystems, and that is looking at alternative with distributed energy resources like community solar and rooftop solar. We know that people want that, and there needs to be modifications to the grid in order to allow for that as well. And then we know that we need to ensure that the grid continues to be resilient, and meet customers' needs as we have more dependence on the grid. So making sure that we're making the investments to enhance the infrastructure as well. So this was a 5-year plan that we looked at, and we said, what do we need to do in order to help the district achieve its energy goals? Because we know Pepco is going to have an important role to play. And then how can we still meet the needs of customers in the future? And that is how we actually came up with what I'm actually going to talk to you today about, and that is the Climate Ready Pathways DC multi-year rate plan. And just to kind of ground the conversation a little bit, when you talk about multi-year rate plan, most people say, well, what is that? And what it is a forward-looking proposal that really details all of the infrastructure projects that we will have in the future. And what would typically happen when we would go to the commission and ask for rate recovery, we would actually do the projects and then seek recovery. But what we're doing now is actually planning ahead on what are the projects and programs that we're going to be doing, looking out into the future years. And what it does is it helps us to plan ahead. It provides transparency around what we're actually doing. It provides predictability because based on what we're actually doing, how much your bill will increase each year. And then it also helps us to just keep on task with what we're doing. And part of the multi-year rate plan, if we don't meet our budget, then there are penalties that we have to pay to the district government if we're going over our budget for any of the programs and projects that we have in place. So that is really helping to, again, promote transparency and predictability for customers. And then how this multi-year rate plan was developed, I sort of shared that a little bit with you earlier in talking about the sort of plan that we looked at, and we said, what are customers going to need in the future in order to meet their needs. So that is essentially how we came up with the multi-year rate plan. We knew that we wanted to improve and enhance and modernize the distribution, the electric grid for customers, meaning that we know that there are new technologies such as EV charging stations that are going to be coming online, and other new technologies as well that are going to be added to the system. When you think about 5G and some of the other technologies that are going to actually need to draw power in order to operate, we know that those things are coming. We know that we need to meet the changing needs of customers. People want solar. They want it to help reduce the carbon footprint and reduce their bill. And we know that there needs to be modifications to make that happen. And then on the back end, how can we be a more customer focused and customer friendly organization? So we know that there needs to be IT investments to make it more customer friendly. On when you're actually going through a interconnection to get solar, or you just need service, these are things that we know that we need to implement on the back end to make it a more customer focused organization. And then there are also security measures that we need to put into place as we move into a more technologically advanced economy and just world. We know that cybersecurity is a threat. So making sure that we have the up-to-date technology to prevent us from any unforeseen issues related to cybersecurity. And so all of these things we took in together And that's how we actually came up with the NYP that's before you today. So that's how we sort of developed it. And as I stated before, a lot of what we're doing is, meeting customers' future needs. And specifically with the multi-year rate plan, we are outlining investments that we'll make into the system starting this year until 2026 to make sure that to support the climate-ready grid that will enable cleaner energy programs. Again, a lot of this was focused on the fact that the district wants to reduce its carbon footprint by 2045. And they actually passed legislation in the Council, the Clean Energy Act of 2018, which sets in motion certain goals and priorities that the district is really focused on. And we know that we're going to have a big role to play. I've talked about the all electric buildings that are coming on board, EV charging stations, as well as the electrification of ride share, WMATA bus fleet, school buses, all of these things that are taking place that are put in motion that's going to require even more dependence and reliability on the grid. We, as a part of this plan, we will also expand energy assistance programs, particularly the residential aid discount program and the AMP program, because affordability is, top of mind at PEPCO. We do know that, that is very critical. So we have included in this plan a mechanism to help expand the residential aid discount program, and you apply through that with DOEE. It's based on your income, and when you apply with that residential aid discount program, the discount program takes a certain percentage out of your bill, which are the distribution charges. So in effect, you will not really see this increase if you're eligible for that program. So we're looking to expand that and also automatically enroll residential aid discount customers that are eligible for the residential aid discount program. We want to automatically enroll them into another program as well, so which is called the AMP program, so that you do not have to apply for both. So looking at every opportunity to make it very easy for folks to access energy assistance programs here in the district. So what does this all mean, and how does it impact you? When I talk about the multi-year rate plan, as I stated before, it is a multitude of different investments, mostly infrastructure investments, IT, things like that, which cost about 100. Altogether, it's $191 million, but spread across all of the residents in the district, it comes out to be a $6.13 increase on your bill in over a 3-year period. So essentially, if let's say your bill is $97, it would increase to about $114 throughout the duration of the plan. And again, part of this plan does include a proposal to expand the residential aid discount program if you're eligible, because it is based on your income. And if you're eligible for that program, you don't see this increase at all, because it takes that distribution charge out of your bill, and that's where the increase you would see the increase on the bill. So specifically, I talked a little bit about some of the infrastructure projects that are part of this plan. As I stated before, pretty much all of the infrastructure projects are meant to increase the capacity of the grid to allow for more solar, electric vehicles, and all electric buildings. In your neighborhood, there was the Capital Grid project that came through a couple of years ago, putting in that 10-mile transmission line We did a lot of education around that project. It's a 10-year project, $1 billion project that has is still going on. A lot of it has been complete where we upgraded 2 substations. We're building an additional substation as well. And all of that is to increase the capacity of the system. And that project is included in this multi-year rate plan. That's one of the projects that's included in here. There are other projects as well. For instance, there is a downtown resupply project, which will increase the capacity of the downtown area. We know that the mayor is very focused on revitalizing the downtown, moving more residential, converting a lot of the commercial buildings into residential. So of course that means more energy. More people are using the electrical grid in that area. So there is a need to increase the capacity in order to allow for that. And that is a project that's has been going on. It's multi-years. And we'll continue to make the upgrade so that we can be ahead of the curve when we talk about, residents moving into the downtown area. I talked about also solar, community solar, rooftop solar. And part of what we want to do is with this multi-year rate plan is expand the organization that receives the solar request. So what that will do is it will help PEPCO receive more requests quickly and process the requests quickly. We're expanding our team in order to meet that need because we know the district is moving in that direction. We know that customers want more solar. We know that EV charging stations are soon going to be coming online more and more. So we need to be ready to receive those applications. And then we're updating our IT system as well to help us be more customer friendly. So when you are looking to apply for a solar panel on your home, that it's a quicker process. We have more people to take those requests. I talked about the enhancing the physical security and cybersecurity of our critical facilities such as substations. We know that, I don't know if you guys heard a few years ago in North Carolina and also in Washington State, there was an incident that happened at one of the substations, which took out thousands of people out of power. And so we're looking at ways to enhance the security from a cybersecurity standpoint. And just with everything that's happening globally and being that we're in the nation's capital, this is very critical for us. So making sure that we have the best technology to, prevent any type of cyber attacks or any unforeseen issues that threaten the security of the system. We're making those investments in this plan. And then yes, ma'am.
We're getting tight on time, which won't leave a lot of time for questions.
Okay, and I'm just going to wrap up just a few, as I talked about, basically modernizing the system, making sure that we have enough equipment, materials to continue to have a reliable grid in the future. So thank you all very much for your time and happy to answer any questions.
If you don't mind, can you take down the PowerPoint so I can see who might have questions? All right, wonderful. I saw Commissioner Yates's hand, so we'll start there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Trevoris, I noticed that PEPCO has a PEPCO-owned EV Smart charging network in Prince George's and Montgomery County and Maryland. Why is that network not in DC?
We're a different district. We are a different jurisdiction. And so in Maryland, that was a effort that was, across the state. And so, the Public Service Commission there is very different from our Public Service Commission. We have actually asked to expand the EV charging EV charging stations in the district. And so we finally got approval to expand that program. In the district, PEPCO does not own any of the charging stations as they do in Maryland. You can, what happens is you can apply to have one. And what we do is we give you And we're actually looking for commercial customers to place the charging stations in their properties. Pepco will give up to $7,000 to support the fast chargers. But our jurisdiction is not made up that way, unfortunately. It's just a different jurisdiction. So we are kind of slow moving, but we're pushing. Everything has to go through the approval of the Public Service Commission.
Commissioner Palmer.
Yeah, that's a nice segue. Thank you, Trevoris. Can you talk a little bit about the timing of the hearing and what's up there? And I believe there have been some submissions, including DC government side, in opposition to this proposal. I don't know if you know anything about that.
I know a little bit about it. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, just getting over a cold. Yes, so there is a community hearing date, which is set for April the 2nd at the Huff Library. There have been questions around the multi-year rate plan process, because we did pass a multi-year rate plan. The Public Service Commission approved a multi-year rate plan, which is the first time that we had that in this area in 2019. And some of the organizations or entities have said, did we really evaluate the last multi-year rate plan to see if we want to continue to have rate making in this way? So those are some of the feedback that we've seen from, different agencies and things like that. I believe it was the Office of the People's Council that weighed in, and then AOBA and a few others. But that's generally have been the consensus. But again, we think it's a good mechanism because it shows predictability. You know exactly what your rate is going to be in the future. And then there is that mechanism in place that keeps Pepco on budget with the infrastructure project. So if we do go over budget, we have to pay what is called a PIF fee. It's like a penalty as well. So we think it's a great way to move forward.
Commissioner Berry.
Hi. Okay. So you talks about the community hearing at the Huff Library, and you said it's on April 2nd. And the document that got sent out, just it was a little confusing because the Bellevue / William O. Lockridge Library hearing. So that one is on March 27th, right? And they're
right.
both.
I'm sorry. And let me just say that there are 3 hearings. There's one March 27th at the Bellevue Library. The one that's close within the ANC or close to this ANC is on March the 2nd at the Huff Library. And then there is a 3rd hearing April 3rd at the Public Service Commission's building.
And they're all at 5:30.
They're all at 5:30.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And that's open to the community as well, obviously, not just commissioners.
Correct.
All right. I don't see any hands raised from the community. Any other commissioners with questions? All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Culpepper. Thank you for coming.
No, thank you very much. And I will say, again, this multi-year rate plan is to help to increase the capacity and make sure that the grid is reliable. And if you think this is a great plan, we definitely would like to have your support. I can put in my information in the chat if you want to follow up with me with any other questions.
Yes. Please put your information in the chat. The commissioners will discuss at our next planning meeting. And if we have any questions, we'll get back to you.
Okay, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
You should be able to post in the chat right now, just like any other Zoom meeting. If you have problems, you can go ahead and send it to Chair Brooks and she can put it in the chat for you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay. All right. So the next item on our agenda is a presentation that carried over from last month. As you know, Mary McLeod Bethune Day Academy Public Charter School was supposed to present in January, was unable to attend, and they've asked to present in this month's meeting. For the record, because we voted on our resolution last month, it is in no way changes that resolution that has, been delivered. And so we are affording them as a courtesy the opportunity to make the presentation that was not made in January. So with that, if you could promote Dr. McKay, I assume I don't know if we need to promote Dr. McKay and Mr. McKay or just Dr. McKay, so she can let us know. Hi, Dr. McKay.
Unmute. Oh, thank you. Okay, good. Good evening, and commissioners. For me, I do want to apologize for not being present last week, but thank you for this opportunity. I'd like my screen at this time. And I will do a short presentation with a slideshow, and then I do know that there's time to respond to questions and answers. So I'd like to first present that Mary McLeod Bethune is a school that is 19 years old. Oops, I'm sorry. And it will, let me get this correct. Okay. We have been in existence since 2004. We are a school that implements a high-performing day school and provides a challenging academic program. Parent involvement is key, and we also celebrate diversity in our environment in an effort to achieve academic success, talent, and positive social development for our students. We are accredited by the American Association for Liberal Education, and we are an IB World School under the International Baccalaureate Program, and that's the primary years program. MMBDA provides a dual language program. We are 100% Spanish for grades pre-K3, 50-50 English Spanish for grades 4 through pre-K 4 through grade 5. And then we have Spanish classes 5 days a week for students in grades 6 through 8. I don't know what's, okay. We have a 10-to-1 teacher ratio at Maris's. In pre-K 3 and pre-K 4, it's a 9-to-1 ratio. We have a very strong music program, visual arts program, health and PE, Latin instruction beginning in 5th grade, African American history beginning in 5th grade, environmental science for all of our students pre-K through grade 8. We are very proud of our environmental science program as well as our STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and math. You will see a self-sustaining net zero environmental science building at our Brooklyn campus. We also have strong partnerships with the National Society of Black Engineers, NSBE, that supports us in providing coding, robotics, and hands-on physical science instruction, as well as the Boy Scouts of America's STEM program. We have 2 campuses. At 1404 Jackson Street Northeast, that's in the old SLO building, as well as, and that serves pre-kindergarten through grade 8. And since 2004, from 2004 to 2009, we were at 16th, our 16th Street campus is located in the 6th Presbyterian Church at 16th and Kennedy Streets, Northwest. So we started our school at that location at 16th and Kennedy for grades pre-K through grades 4 campus in far northeast. This campus now serves students in pre-K 3 through grade 5. In 2018, we went back to the 6th Presbyterian Church. Our scholars have a very strong gardening program as part of our STEM and environmental science. We want our children to know the not only healthy eating, but environmental science that leads to a healthy environment for our students. Our students are, you see, in grades pre-K through 8, participating in our gardening program with environmental science. Our 8th grade students have an annual trip that they go outside the contiguous US, and they have gone as far as Kenya, Canada, Costa Rica, and the students receive this culminating experience, not only to reward their work, but also to challenge them to be those world citizens that we want them to be. Our students, as an IB school, most of our work is through inquiry, along with ELA, English Language Arts program, a math program, and social studies and science. Our students engage in what's called a transdisciplinary approach toward instruction. And so you will see our students very engaged in international transdisciplinary learning and working as they are very engaged in their work. Our students celebrate IB units and provide representation of their work through the arts, through writing, and through other demonstrations. These are just some of the IB presentations that our students show what they do and what they have learned. On Sundays, we have also STEM activities with a partnership with Baby Scientists, and this is a Baby Scientist program that happens on Sundays at our Brooklyn campus. It's offered to not only our students, but other students in the city. Our students have very strong STEM experiences. And I wanted to share with you, so you see some photos of our students celebrating their IB experiences and celebrating diversity and going through activities in which they are engaged in learning in a very interactive manner. We have partnerships with Banneker High School students through NSBE. And now I wanted to share with you our proposed school lease layout. We are proposing to move to the Tacoma Park Baptist Church. And you will see the areas that we are looking at using on the first floor and second floor, and some parts of the third floor for offices of the education facility at Tacoma Park Baptist Church. This is our second floor. And this also will go up to grade 5. We have had a number of work to big parents and some community folk. We have had a walkthrough of the building for our parents and some community. We have had meeting with some of the neighbors who live adjacent and abut the alleyway at the school. We have had a community meeting via questions and answers from the community. And so to date, these are some of the activities that we have had. We've done engaged with the traffic consultant, and I do want to inform the ANC and the community, we have commissioned a new traffic study so that we can receive more information of the impact the school would have on the traffic on Piney Branch Road and Aspen Street. We have engaged a landscape architect for playground and school garden and invited parents and others to join in the design of the landscape for the playground and school garden. We've completed building code review, and we've begun architectural planning. And we have started the process. The traffic, we will continue to use traffic and transportation consultant Wells and Associates, a highly regarded traffic consultant, and they will work with us to ensure that safety as well as minimize impact on the surrounding communities. I do want to share that once we have that study, it will be shared. We have tentatively March 5th, and I do believe that many of you have received the flyer that has that information. We're also providing the Zoom notice for that meeting. Hopefully last week and over the weekend, most of you received a flyer that gave dates of activities that we are doing. With the traffic and transportation, we want to ensure that we have a good neighbor policy. And so we'll have a transparent complaint policy and process for all concerns and complaints. And that's going to include trash, loitering, and traffic complaints. And we want to address those complaints within 24 hours. And we want to ensure that this is a very transparent process. To date, and as I said, we were at Tacoma Park from 2004 to 2009, and then 2018 to 2020 to present. And we have been very good neighbors with the neighboring at 16th and Kennedy Streets. And we have not received any complaints about our traffic, which the traffic does have to go through the alley, through the parking lot on Kennedy Street, as well as maintaining the playground and the yard and parking lot and working with the church. Now, for the school year, presently we have 93 students at our 16th Street campus, and you will see a progression. We intend by year 5, 150 students. So next year, we hope to have at Tacoma Park Baptist Church, 103 students. And then we're moving to 113, 124, 136, and 150. And this is just a projected enrollment that we would hope to see. And so we don't intend on transferring students from one program to another. We want to build our population as we go through the year. We want to ensure that we have safety first. So we will have all the ADA compliance. This means that some changes will be made. Elevator access will be needed for the second and third floors. So we have worked with the church to ensure that we have space and opportunity to build the elevator. Restrooms will need ADA compliance. And so you see some of the changes that will have to be made. We will have to modify the doors as well as the window sills, and the water fountains will need to be installed and or made to ADA compliance. We want to have lighting, so we're making the changes to the lighting. Landscape incandescent, right now it's incandescent lighting, and we will be changing that to energy saving LED. We want to increase light levels, and we provide additional outlets throughout the educational space. For changes to plumbing, we will be changing the plumbing fixtures so that they are also not only cost efficient, but they will be providing up-to-date, environmentally safe and environmentally constant, with making sure that it meets not only compliance, but also that it is up to date. So providing low flow and touchless fixtures. These are some of the same things that we had to do at our Brooklyn campus. When we moved to Brooklyn campus, it was in a demise condition, and we had to make those changes, a lot more changes than what we will have to make at the Tacoma Park Baptist Church. The sinks will be made compliant for children, student use, as well as adult use. We have changes that will be needed for the mechanical. We are very, very pleased that the church already has a great HVAC system, and we will only have to make some natural ventilation with ensuring that the windows are able to be used. Asbestos testing has been conducted, and so there will be some changes to the flooring without that the flooring tile throughout the building. Flooring will need to be incapacitated, which means that we will just be covering those floors, as well as rectifying any of the lead paint problems. We have met, we'll meet with the DOE standards, and fire alarm and detection systems are required to be installed. A sprinkler system will be required. And so all of these updates are planned. And I just want to share with you the design phase. We will have this, I think it is now, PowerPoint on our website. So you can go to the website at www.mmbethune.org, and I can drop that into the chat room. And if Marcus is also open, Marcus McKay, if you would put that in the chat. So you will see this is.
So Mr. McKay doesn't have chat access until he's a panelist.
Oh, okay, okay.
He is a panelist, I believe. He has
Okay,
been.
you made him a panelist. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are the plans that we have, and Madam Commissioner, may I see Kevin has a question.
Well, before we move to residents, we'll start with questions from the commissioners. And so I'll field the questions, if you don't mind taking down the presentation so that I can see. I'll take it from here. And actually, I'm going to start with some of the questions that I have. First of all, I think your project schedule is quite ambitious. And so what happens if anything is delayed?
We will have to remain at the 16th Street campus until such time as we're able to move. We're hoping, we've talked with our contractors, and there is some work that we can begin now. And so some of you saw.
So you're operating on the assumption that your request to the charter school board will be approved, because to date it has not. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So you've signed the lease, you're beginning work, you haven't been approved by the charter school board yet. And I guess I'm not quite sure why you're here tonight. If you missed the January meeting.
Yes.
What, other than making us aware of what it is you've already started to do and are planning to do, I'm not quite sure I understand why you're here. And the reason I say that is because it feels to me like you're doing things in reverse. And just so you understand my background, I've worked at 2 charter schools and I've helped open both of them in 4B. So I'm really familiar with this process. And typically the outreach is at the beginning of the process and not the end of the process. And so one of my questions is around, while I hear you talking about the fact that you've met with neighbors, and you talked a lot about what the children do in the community, I'm not clear on the relationship that you're developing within the community as the school, not as the students that participate in the school. Because my understanding is that some of the residents asked to have a committee to work together and create a memorandum of understanding, and that hasn't happened yet. And typically, I know that traffic studies are normally at the beginning of a process, and that hasn't happened, or at least it hasn't been released yet, is my understanding. And, you know, while you might not have had traffic issues at your 16th Street location, 16th Street and Piney Branch Road are very different, very different.
Yeah. Yes, 16th Street is, yeah. But let me go back. October 23rd, we met with, and I'm just going to pull this up from it's October 23rd, we received permission or a letter of intent from Tacoma Park Baptist Church, October 14th. We met with, on a Saturday, the Tacoma Park Baptist Church congregation. That was October 14th, 2023. And on October 23rd, we were informed that the church had agreed to grant us a letter of intent to lease the building. On October 23rd, the letter was sent to ANC 4B02 Commissioner Palmer, informing her of the intent to relocate, as well as a request to present at the ANC 4B02 meeting. And that was done on October 23rd. I did receive a letter from, an email back from Commissioner Palmer, in which she said that we were too late for the December meeting, but we could make it to
She couldn't have said that because we don't meet in December.
That's, you're 100% correct. We were too late for the November meeting, and that you don't meet in December.
Okay.
And so that we were to appear on the January meeting. And again, I apologize for, I was not able to be there, nor was I able to, we've had quite a few emergency situations in families. And so I was not able to be there. The traffic study was commissioned by Wells and Associates. We had a meeting on November, I think it was November 20th. Yes. Also, let me just go back. So I told you about the walkthroughs that we had. November, and Commissioner Palmer was at that November 9th meeting, in which we met at Tacoma Park to do a walkthrough. At the Zoom community meeting with parents, staff, ANC B402, in which I was able to capture some emails from some of the neighbors and interested community meetings, we provided them with information of the relocation of our 16th Street, and also provided them with the traffic study that had been commissioned in the month of November.
So all of the commissioners actually have the full record, and all of the emails that have gone back and forth, they were a part of the resolution that we sent to the charter school board. So I believe that, you know, I don't think that there's a need to revisit all the dates and times because we're aware of them for the most part.
Yeah, I was sharing it with you because you said it sounded like we had gone backwards, but
no, it sounds to me like you're doing things out of order is what I'm saying. So typically before a commission could decide whether or not, for example, they want to support something, they'd like to see the traffic study, but that traffic study is not available. Typically, before we support something, we would want to know that you're working with the community. And I understand that the community wanted to have a memorandum of understanding, and that hasn't happened yet. And so it seems to me like all of the things that we would want to see as commissioners and residents haven't happened yet, but you have yet a project timeline and you have all of these other dates ready to go. And so that's my concern. And I don't want to monopolize the meeting because obviously other commissioners have their hands raised and residents have their hands raised as well. But I'm stating for the record that it doesn't seem to me that you've done the community engagement portion of this process up front. Yes, you sent an email in October. No, you couldn't attend in November. No, you couldn't attend in January, but there has been opportunity to create a working group with the residents of that community and come up with a memorandum of understanding. There has been the opportunity to have a traffic study done sooner so that it could be reviewed, discussed, included in our process. And I don't think that has happened.
Okay, I just want to say that we have had the traffic study.
Has it been shared with the community?
Yes.
Okay, when did that happen?
That was
Perhaps I wasn't available.
Okay, that was November 20th.
Okay.
Yes. And the community wanted more because the
I
traffic.
believe what you provided, I'm sorry to cut you off, but your internet's going in and out, so I want to get this in. But I believe what you provided on November 20th was the traffic parking plan, not a traffic study that would talk about the number of cars that were coming through the community. Am I mistaken?
It wasn't a parking, and so we gave that traffic study. I'm going to have to plug my computer in. I think that's why it's going out. Okay. But Marcus is here, and I see that he has.
Yes, I'm sorry. If I can jump in. Yes, we did present a traffic study. It was not a comprehensive traffic impact study, which upon presenting the community voiced that they would prefer to see that, but a traffic study was done that projected the number of cars, and would inform our pickup and drop off operations. So we have since then, in response to community concerns, commissioned a more comprehensive traffic study, which is not a requirement for these for a relocation, but in response to community concerns, we did have the traffic engineers do the full traffic impact study.
Okay. Commissioner Palmer?
Yes, thank you, Chair Brooks. I just want to echo a couple of things and ask a question. As Chair Brooks noted, we're not actually voting or weighing in on anything this evening. The time for that has passed. The time for us to have engaged in a way where we could have considered things like a traffic study has already taken place. We have, Commissioner Yates and I sent a letter to the school in early December with a series of questions. The school responded in the beginning of January. And one of the things we asked for was an agreement to complete a memorandum of understanding, which would allow representatives from the community, from the ANC, from the school, and even potentially from DDOT to come together and define the challenges and also talk about solutions. And the school's response said that that memorandum of understanding would be completed. We don't have that or anything approximating that. When I attended the walkthrough with neighbors abutting the alley on Valentine's Day, that was a productive conversation. And I think at root is what we were looking for from the outset in terms of having people come to the table and talk about their concerns and reach a shared understanding about how to move forward. I will note that I've received the mailer that talks about a Zoom meeting presentation of the traffic study. That was the first time I've heard about that. I do not have details about the Zoom meeting. I would appreciate those when they're available. And I just want to ask, my questions are, can you confirm if there has been a memorandum of understanding or efforts to reach that. And then my second question relates to outreach to the neighborhood schools, to Tacoma and Whittier. I know there are a couple of undated letters in the record in the application submitted to the charter school board. And I'm wondering if you made any efforts in addition to those undated letters to connect with the schools, and whether you have actually talked with any school representatives from either of those schools.
Okay, first, let me just clarify. You requested that we respond to your, I think, a series of questions by December 12th or December 13th. And so those questions were sent to, those responses were sent to you. The letters, although they have been, it's been said a couple of times that the principals had not been communicated. They were communicated to just inform them that we would be relocating, proposing to relocate.
I think you're misunderstanding my question. Apologies. I'm wanting to know if you made any additional efforts to connect with Tacoma or Whittier Elementary School, and whether you have talked to any representatives from those schools.
We have not, no.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Tiffany Johnson, are you off camera, and do you still have a question? Before I go to
No, she actually answered my question regarding the traffic safety study. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Jen Schiller first. You can unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. I was trying to find the unmute. Thank you everyone for your time. And I think actually Commissioner Palmer asked most of my question regarding outreach to Whittier and Tacoma elementary schools. But I did see the traffic, I don't know that I would call it a study, but the plan that was proposed. I also received the flyer, presumably as a pre-K parent. And it says it expects, I believe, somewhere around 70 cars to be driven to and from the school, but then with an additional up to 150 students, so an increase of about 60 students over the period of, I believe it was 6 years. And how do you plan to account for, I mean, that's presumably over 100 cars across the street from another elementary school, and a big focus of DC, and I know the local communities and the commissioners, is that safe path to campus, biking, walking. You know, we're having this conversation at Whittier already. How do you plan to alleviate that? And are you planning to promote more walking, biking, et cetera, to kind of control for 100 cars more or less across the street from another school? Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I will answer those questions. Those are very good questions. The projected amount of cars is, I believe, 83 cars at full enrollment. It would take some time to get to that number of 174 students at maximum enrollment if we ever reach that number. And we will be working, we'll have an ongoing relationship with the traffic engineering firm to monitor our operations and continuously work to improve the pickup and drop off procedures. But based on their recommendations, the pickup and drop off can be achieved without considerable impact to local traffic. We will definitely be encouraging families to use alternative means of transportation to and from school, including bicycling. We will be installing bicycle racks. We anticipate staff and families also using Metro due to the proximity to Tacoma Metro Station. But we understand that the impact on traffic is a large concern for neighbors, and we will be working diligently to minimize that impact.
Okay, several other charter schools in this area have shuttle buses. Is that something that you consider? Ideal buses, students, Hope, Sella Public Charter School at one time offered buses. Washington Latin offers buses. Is that something you're willing to consider? And also, I believe you just said 174 at maximum enrollment, and I think the slide said 150.
So the 150 is what we project 5 years from now. So we're
Okay.
even 5 years from now, we're not projecting
Full enrollment.
Understand. Projecting a 10% increase year over year. And we currently do provide transportation using vans instead of full buses. And that's something that we will also be looking at expanding, but we currently do have 2 vans, and at our Brooklyn campus, we operate full-size yellow buses.
Okay, Commissioner Yates.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that I was one of the people who did receive your mailer as on the list. And I appreciate that. I did want to flag that the first date on the mailer of your outreach had already passed by the time I got it, I think in part because you mailed it from Nevada. So like my advice would be like for local community engagement, consider a local vendor, because then it would probably arrive in time. I would like to echo like Commissioner Palmer's commentary on the Zoom meeting. Like if you want people to be on the Zoom, you have to provide some way for them to do it electronically, like a QR code or a link or a short link, something like that, so that people get it and can figure out what to do. But I just wanted to flag that like some of these mailers are coming in after the meetings have already occurred.
Thank you. Commissioner Colson.
Good evening. First question, Marcus, did you attend Shepherd, you or your brother, elementary school?
All of us did, yes.
You all are
Yes.
familiar. I was there with you. My question for you, I know that we've talked about the transportation study. I'm just wondering if you guys have ever been to the property during rush hour, during drop off and pickup, because I echo the sentiments of my fellow commissioners and also Ms. Schiller. You not only have traffic coming in from Tacoma, Maryland, you have traffic coming in from Silver Spring, you have traffic going to Tacoma Station, the metro station. So just out of the abundance of caution for your students, I'm wondering if you all ever came and did a site visit during that time. Because again, we are not 16th Street, but there is a lot going on during that time. And I'm concerned for your students with their drop off and their pickup. And then we also talked about the projected cars for students being dropped off. What is your staff capacity right now? How many staff members do you all have?
So we currently have 22 staff members, and a total of 13 of them drive cars to work. And I have been to the site during rush hour times, during pickup and drop off times. During pickup times, after school times, it happens a little before rush hour. And one thing that helps us is that a lot of our families participate in before and after care. So it's not they're kind of trickling in between 7 and 8:30 in the morning, and there's not a huge influx of traffic at release time either. So we do plan on encouraging families to participate in the before and after care program as well, to also help reduce that impact. So one benefit is that we have made that program very affordable for our families, and a lot of families take advantage of that. And the traffic consultants also have taken measurements at those peak times, and those findings will be presented in the next week and a half or so.
All right, I would be interested to see that, but I'm very cautious about that because it is an extremely busy spot, and the addition that you are projecting is going to increase it not only for the students, but for the neighbors here in this area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe there are two more questions. I know Kevin has had his hand raised and Nancy has a question, so we'll go to Kevin next. Kevin, are you there?
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Great. So I'm a neighbor who lives across the street from Tacoma Baptist, and my wife and I have a son who's about to start pre-K next year. So we're very excited about the idea of having some additional school options to consider. That said, I have two concerns I'm hoping that the guests can address. First, I was wondering if they could please specify when the traffic study is happening. As they may know, there's been construction on our block and the adjacent blocks for the last several weeks and continuing into the next several weeks. So I'm not totally clear how a recent traffic study could be at all predictive of what normal traffic flow would be like during a normal school year. I did see some folks out there on Sunday, but that also, maybe those weren't your people, but that obviously wouldn't be representative either. So that's concern one, and the concern here is not about just the presence of traffic, but the safety of the kids, given there's been several fatal accidents on Piney Branch in the last several years. The second concern I have is about the playground. Um, we had heard through the somewhat spotty information we've gotten that the playground will not be open to the public, unlike the playgrounds at Tacoma Elementary, which are open to the public outside of school hours, of course. I know that the guests have specified that they're trying to pursue a good neighbor policy, and locking off playground equipment from the neighboring families doesn't exactly seem like a good neighbor policy to me. So I was hoping they could address both of those questions. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you for the questions. As far as the traffic study goes, the data was collected, I believe, in the second week of January. I'm not sure exactly the date. I believe it was prior to the start of construction.
And what about the playground?
Yeah, the playground.
The playground, we will be having further discussions with the community and the church. Given we've gotten different feedback from the community regarding playground usage, and also as the property belongs to the church, we have to strike a balance. Sometimes playgrounds can be nuisances within neighborhoods and be inviting to, unwanted traffic and nuisance behaviors. And given that we won't be owning the property, that will be an ongoing conversation.
All right,
Now,
thank you.
yes, an example of community use of the playground at our Brooklyn campus, we do lock the gate, but we also have neighbors who have a key and they can unlock the gate when there is a need. And so we have a good relationship with the neighborhood if the neighbors want to use the playground for certain instances. There is the liability situation for use of the playground, but as long as we have that partnership for use and knowledge of the use being provided. On our 16th campus, church locks the playground. And so it's a matter of just having that good partnership between the community and the school.
Have you talked to other schools about how they balance that? Because I'm not sure that, for example, with Sella and Hope Community Charter School, when it was open, and now Ideal, their playgrounds on this side of the ward are completely open to everyone all the time, and there's no liability concern. I can understand what you mean about, you're not owning the property, but the liability concern, I disagree with.
Well, I can
Okay.
speak to that. At our Brooklyn campus, we have had an arson at our playground. There was a portable building, which we replaced with the environmental science building, that new building, but the
Oh, I
previous
thought you
structure was
meant
burned down.
liability to the people using the playground. You mean liability that you might have to replace something.
That too, I mean, there are various risks associated with public use of a facility. So there is liability as far as injuries go, and nuisance use.
Okay. Commissioner Yates, are you able to promote Nancy Smith, please? She's been waiting.
Yeah, I can do that. One moment. Okay.
Bianca, you'll be next. Nancy, are you there? Is Nancy there?
I also asked her to unmute using the Zoom feature.
Do we want to move to Bianca while we wait? And these are going to be the last two questions or comments because we
All right, Bianca should be able to comment.
did this last month.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I again have the privilege of being Mary McLeod Bethune's Parent Involvement Coordinator. And we have made great strides with the Tacoma community. We have reached out to them in a variety of ways. One of the most notable that I found to be truly transparent was just inviting everyone to the school board. So that was an eye opener and an icebreaker, I felt. And then right after that, it was followed up with getting together on Valentine Eve. And Commissioner Palmer is right. She was one of 11 people who came out in the freezing cold. And we spoke for an hour and 45 minutes about how we would like an opportunity to enhance the community with our relocation. In addition to that, we sent out mailers and I invited everyone, and Nancy Smith was one of the Tacoma residents who came to our open house, and she was present and she was able to look at our space and see the reason why we want to relocate. In addition to that, I am responsible for the mailers getting to folks a day later. I take full responsibility for that. Sorry, I wanted to get things correct.
Bianca, do you have a question? Because so far you're just repeating the same presentation that Dr. McKay and Mr. McKay have provided us.
I was
I would
adding.
either like ask you to add new information, but I don't want you to repeat the same thing, please.
Okay, I felt like my information was new when I was just sharing the ways that we communicated, but I will regress and be silent and allow Nancy to speak. Thank you.
I'm not sure that Nancy can. Is Nancy able to get off of mute, Commissioner Yates? All right. Well,
I asked her to unmute. I can forcibly mute people. I cannot forcibly unmute them.
Yes. So at this point, I don't think there are any more questions at this time. I'm asking that you work with have a working group of residents and come up with a memorandum of understanding. Is that something you're willing to do? Because I've not ever gotten an answer to that question.
Yes, it is something we can do.
Commissioner Palmer, will you coordinate with Dr. McKay at some point to ensure that there's a working group that can come together and produce a memorandum of understanding?
Well, I can certainly continue to try. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you for making it out this month. And I appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Next, we will move, what's left of it anyway. Next, we will move on to the consent calendar. We have a resolution, 2 resolutions and a letter. So the first is, and for everyone's understanding, for those of you who have not attended before, consent calendar items are not up for discussion. They've been posted on our website in advance of the meeting for residents to review. Commissioners have already discussed and reviewed these items. And the first is Resolution 4B240201, authorizing translation of the Commission's website and related expenditures. Commissioners Palmer, Brooks, Smith, and Yates. This letter providing feedback on the OANC strategic plan. That's Commissioner Palmer, Brooks, Smith, and Yates. And then there's Resolution 4B240202, establishing Community Safety and Support Committee, Commissioner Johnson. Is there a motion to accept the consent calendar as presented?
I'll move.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Is that everyone? Let me see, 3, 6, 7. Yep, that's everyone. Did we lose the commissioner? Hold on, 3, 6, 7. Okay, no, we have 3 people that are out. That's everyone. All right. Lastly, we have a letter, Advisory Neighborhood Commission 4B fiscal year 2025 Housing Justice Budget Priorities, Commissioners Palmer, Yates, Brooks, and Smith. Commissioner Palmer, you have the final item of the evening.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone who has stayed with us this evening. This is a letter providing Advisory Neighborhood Commission 4B's fiscal year 2025 housing justice budget priorities. It builds on several past commission items over several years, providing feedback on various district budgets, both letters to the mayor and letters to the DC Council, depending on the timing. And it's also built on the work of the Housing Justice Committee, which continues to meet with council members, agency representatives, reporters, and service providers, and even budget experts on the DC budget and housing justice needs. A lot of the information and calls in this letter are continuations of what we've asked before, largely because the need still exists. I will just highlight a few things, one of which is an emphasis on funding for the Home Purchase Assistance Program, in part based on the work of the Black Homeownership Strike Force, which identified the Home Purchase Assistance Program as one of the primary tools to tackle the racial homeownership gap. We also call for funding to meet need in emergency rental assistance, which is another program that pretty consistently runs out of funding and is an essential tool toward preventing evictions. There's various calls related to housing vouchers and efforts to end homelessness, as well as a few items related to building code issues and funding recently proposed legislation for proactive inspections. It's a very detailed letter. That's part of why we publish our items in advance for the public and for fellow commissioners. And I think it does an excellent job of building on our past work on housing issues.
Are there any questions? All right, is there a motion?
Move.
All right, is there a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposition? Any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, with that being the final item on the agenda, I hereby conclude the meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.